Happy Feisty Friday. Trying something a little different. Thought I would make myself a little Canva, not Cama, background thing. See if I can't kind of get a bit of a vibe going. Yes, I am wearing a black lace top, totally unintentional. I'm not trying to be over cool or vibey. I just thought, you know what, consistency might be helpful. Also for me, then you don't have to see the dirty background, which is, it's chaos behind me. Anyway, this week, it's literally the beginning of a new month, the month of March. And I've been thinking about self awareness. I've been thinking about strength, and I've also been thinking about the illusion of strength, which, to be honest, in the history of my career, I've gone through iterations of just pretending, the fake it till you make it thing, which is a legitimate way to accomplish and be seen as competent. I know this because I've done it. And yet at the same time, I think strength without the journey of self awareness is just, well, it's dominance in a better outfit. And that's really not what I think we are being called to. And I think we, you, me, the world globally, we're being called into something very different. In boardrooms, in politics, in public discourse, in corporate culture, decisiveness is applauded. And I understand why, because it looks like action. And I think certainty is rewarded because it makes us feel like those decisions were warranted because we were certain we were making the right decision. And I think also sometimes the volume of decision making and the sort of right on top of one another, it gets mistaken for clarity. But I think and I am feeling called to stronger leadership than that, not just leadership that's dressed up as confidence. And for me, this is where self awareness is at, because I know for me, I keep saying for me. I don't mean to, but I'm also just talking off the cuff. Certainty is something that I've always wanted. I've wanted to lay hold of certainty. I've wanted to work towards certainty. And sometimes also my decision making has been made with a sense of urgency because it feels like the decisiveness and the certainty in the moment of making a decision, it feels right. It doesn't feel wrong. It feels like leadership. But I think having a sense of urgency, not letting time take care of things, I think it's a stress response. For me, it has been. And I think for me, I have used moments of uncertainty as opportunities for me to make an urgent decision, do something really fast. And it's given me an immediate sense of certainty. But I haven't always slowed down to ask myself, was that actually the right move, or should I have held myself? Should I have paused? Because, in February, I focused on regulated leadership. And that was this awareness that pausing as leaders to make good, different, conscious decisions is actually not a weak move. It can look like that, and it can look like a lack of certainty, or it can look like indecision. But pausing in itself is not weakness. And I think also for me, I have tried to continue to embrace curiosity. But embracing curiosity can sometimes make other people feel like I'm incompetent. Because instead of in a classroom where a student is asking me what's the right answer, instead of giving them the right answer, I will say, I don't know if there is a right answer. And that makes me in those moments potentially look like I don't know what I'm talking about. But self-examination and self-awareness work is not fragile. It's delicate work. But delicate doesn't necessarily mean fragile. Delicate means incrementally. Delicate can mean subtle shifts. Subtle course corrections can make a huge difference over time. So delicate, strategic moves that work towards certainty, I think that work that work is incredibly powerful and it's strong because when we have self-awareness as leaders, that self-awareness gives us strength that isn't brittle, that won't break as easily. And it creates steadiness. And steadiness is different than certainty. I often get asked, well, how does this sound? What does this look like? Give me a scenario so that I can understand. So, I think real strength in conversation with people, perhaps your followers or people who are looking to you for answers, it sounds a lot like saying, I may not know everything there is to know yet about this situation. Or it may sound like, I think, we should examine the overall impact of the decision before we actually make the decision. Or, even just at a very simple level, it may just be, I need a moment. I need a pause before I respond. That's what real strength, I think, as a leader sounds like. And I think it looks like holding your authority without allowing it to humiliate others, setting boundaries, but not doing it in a theatrical way, and seeking to engage difference without threatening. Unfortunately, sometimes leadership can feel like it's not very grounded. And I think true strength from leadership comes from self-awareness. And in that self-awareness and in that pause and in that authentic admitting what we don't know or what we aren't sure of, I think that groundedness means that we have the potential to not just overpower the rooms that we are in, but we can actually bring regulation to those rooms. So for the month of March, I am going to think strategically myself, and I'm going to ask you to do the same. I want you to think about, before you look at something and go, well, that's a strong position. So let's say you turn on the news, you're watching what's going on in the world of politics. And let's face it, you talk about rapid change since a week ago. The last time I did a Feisty Fridays to this Feisty Fridays, the world feels like it's flipped upside down. But before we label those decisive actions as strong moves, I think we need to ask ourselves, was that clarity that was chosen? Or was that control that was chosen? Were the decisions made out of deep-seated conviction? Or were those decisions actually insecurity wrapped in what looked like certainty? And I think for me, I want to ask myself, am I exuding leadership or am I projecting dominance, but I'm dressed up to look like I'm a leader? Because I really don't want to be another loud voiced leader in the world, because the world and our globe and where we are right now, I don't believe that we need more leaders who hold power without self-awareness. I think strength without self-awareness is, like I said, just dominance in a better outfit. And I, for one, I don't want to be impressed solely by what people wear, both figuratively and literally. So that's what I'm thinking about this week. If you're thinking about that, pop me a message. If you're thinking about other things that you think I need to be thinking about, pop me a message. But join me next week for another Feisty Fridays. This is me trying a new background, the Feisty PM, asking you to continue to just do the work, to ask the deep questions, to think about who you are authentically and honestly, and at the same time to recognize there's just so much more that we don't know that we can continue to explore.